I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and if you're a Verizon customer, you're getting quite a few awesome Android handsets this holiday season. They've already announced and launched the Motorola Droid Razr. Now they're launching the HTC Rezound. This is the second of 3 awesome Android phones coming this holiday season, the third being the Samsung Galaxy Nexus. Now this is packing a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz CPU, an 8-megapixel camera, a front-facing camera, and of course it's the first HTC device in the US to have Beats by Dr. Dre built into the device. So for $300 you get the phone, you get some iBeats headphones, and more in a nice 4G LTE package. Is this the device for you? Should you wait for the Galaxy Nexus? Or maybe you should even get the Motorola Droid Razr? We'll find out in the full review of the HTC Rezound. But first, special love to my boys at Best Buy Mobile. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. When you get the Rezound, they'll help you set up your email, your web, your camera settings, and more. So when you walk out that door, you're good to go. I'm doing a lot of pointing at the camera. Sorry about that. If you're watching it really close, it probably looks crazy. But enough of that, let's get into it. HTC Rezound full review starts right now. So you know, Verizon's done a pretty awesome job so far this year with the high-end Android handsets, and they're continuing it into the holiday season. This is the HTC Rezound, and it's available now at Verizon corporate stores, Best Buy Mobiles, online at VerizonWireless.com, and online at BestBuy.com for $299.99 out the door with a 2-year agreement. So it's pretty expensive, $300. It's right there in that typical price tier for Verizon's 4G LTE handset. Somebody told me the other day I use my hands a lot in the video, so I think I'm going to progressively or periodically come back and do this as I'm talking. But you get the idea. 4G LTE handset, dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Snapdragon CPU. It's got a 4.3-inch display. Now, this is the first display on any mobile device to be true 720p. So this is an actual HD display, 720p, and the camera really isn't going to show it off, but I can bring it in pretty close so you can get a look. I mean, it's just a beautiful display. There's no other way to say it, and you're going to have to see it in person. Really compare this to devices on the market like the Motorola Droid Razr, the upcoming Samsung Galaxy Nexus, and some of the other high-end devices on the market like the iPhone 4S, the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket, and more, because it's a pretty awesome display. But anyway, 8-megapixel camera with 1080p HD video recording, dual LED flash. It has a 1,620 milliamp hour battery. So we'll talk about that in part 2, but it's been kind of interesting because you see some of the competitors coming out with, like Samsung, for example, 1,850 milliamp hour batteries. Motorola's done 1,930 in the past, so you're thinking, okay, for a high-end Android device, 1620 might be just a tad too small, but we'll take a look at that in part 2. So here's the device. It looks good. It's got this typical red and kind of chrome color scheme to it. It looks a lot to me like the Sensation XE. And you can see here red. Got some red accents down here, the capacitive buttons, and the capacitive buttons actually light up red. So you have home, menu, back, and search, and it looks a lot like the Droid Incredible 2, and it's not that much thicker. It is, you know, it's kind of funny because this one launched right after the Droid Razr, which is an incredibly thin device, and you know, it obviously does feel a little bit thicker after that, but still, in comparison, it's not too terribly bad. You've got your battery door here with some texturized stuff on the back, or texturized cover, if you will. Red accents back here. First device, like I said in the intro, to support Beats by Dr. Dre in the US. So out of the box, you get a pair of iBeats headphones. And let me see if I have the box. I'll actually show you, because I want you to see these headphones and see what they look like, because I believe they're $99. I think the retail value of these are $99. I want to show you, because you do get this in the box. That's a nice... they're not there. Let's see here. What did I do with them? Oh, there they are. So you can see, I'm not to rehash the unboxing, but you get an idea. Pretty decent headphones, and you know, for $100 to get a pair of iBeats headphones is a nice little deal. Now, the downside to this is Beats only works in the actual music application. So if you're like me and you use Google Music, or you use something else, Amazon MP3, or you use some sort of proprietary program or app, if you will, to listen to your music, it's not going to work. Beats only works in the actual music application, so you have to get all your music over into the stock Android app in order for it to work. But what you will see is when I plug it in, it's going to say something like Beats Audio Connected. And you can see, well, it popped in the earbuds. Let me see if it says anything about Beats here. It's supposed to say Beats Connected. Let's see. I'll try it one more time. Maybe it's just the international version that does that, but with the Sensation XE, it would say Beats Connected. Let's see what it does here. Let me see if it does it in the library, or in the music app here. No go with that. I don't know why. Maybe it's just not turned on, or I have a setting turned off. I'm going to get some comments in the YouTube comments. They're going to be like, oh, you turned this, or you left this turned off. But anyway, all apps, let's take a look at what comes pre-installed. You get a lot of Verizon stuff on this sucker. You get Backup Assistant. And the sad thing about that is none of it's uninstallable or able to be uninstalled. So you don't want Backup Assistant. You don't want VZ Navigator. You don't want Hot Pursuit. Too bad. because too bad, sucker, because it's stuck on the device, and you can see it over here organized in the Verizon folder. So Backup Assistant, Blockbuster, Hot Pursuit, Amazon Kindle, Mobile Hotspot, IM, VCast Music, My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile, VZ Navigator, Verizon Video, which I don't know why it's not showing up in here, is also on here. Let's Golf 2, Slacker, Video Surf, and Visual Voicemail. Now, you notice a lot of things. This is running Android 2.3.5 with HTC Sense version 3.5. So the same version that runs on the HTC Rime, which is also on Verizon, but it's a little bit newer than the version that runs on the Thunderbolt, and even newer than the version that runs on the Evo 3D and the Sensation 4G. You can notice out of the gate here, a little bit of a different dock. You can see all apps, you can see personalized, so a lot of text below things, and you'll really notice some differences here if you're familiar with Sense, like Wi-Fi connections prioritized up at the top, and you've got mobile hotspot, mobile network, and you'll notice, again, this is just me being picky, but you'll see the check boxes are slightly different. Wait for it to focus in. Come on now. Focus in. You know you want to. Let me see if I can get it to where it... And you can see the check boxes are slightly different. Otherwise, quick settings remain pretty similar. You got your application, or your task manager, rather, 1 GB of memory on this bad boy. And so it's packed in terms of features. You know, one thing I did notice, though, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in part 2, despite having a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, you see a little bit of a lag. Particularly, take a look at that when you open up a menu. See how it kind of stutters as it goes up? I noticed that there, and I noticed it in the browser as well. So if you're looking for a device that's just slamming fast out of the gate, this may not be the device for you. I hate to say that because it is a feature-packed phone, but speed, it doesn't necessarily excel in processing power all the time. So keep that in mind. But quite a bit in the box, but since 3.5, like I said, 7 home screens here. You have the same carousel effect that you've seen on the Evo 3D and on some of the other new HTC devices. Now, again, differences, very minor, but let me pull back the phone application here so I can get rid of my call history, and I'll show you some of the differences once I do that. Remove call history. We're going to delete all those, and because I've been using it and testing it as my personal device. So it's a little bit different here when you scroll back and forth between groups and call history and people and phone. And likewise, when you go into people, and we'll take a look here at Rick James, for example, you can see the home phone number, the message. No real differences here, which what you will notice is the menu down here is slightly different. You'll see details, you'll see thread, and when I click on thread, it brings up messages, email, and call history all in one little, well, for lack of a better word, thread. And then you can scroll over here and see updates and see gallery with photos that are tagged with Rick James. So you can see it's just a little bit more organized. You know, I see this all across the board. For example, when I go into people, I can go over here to people and it'll search, and it brings up all my options here when it comes to contacts. And you'll just notice some graphic changes. You'll notice this is black, for example, and you'll see everything's just kind of more fluid, kind of more smooth, more of an evolutionary upgrade from Sense 3.0 as opposed to a huge, ground up revision, which is obviously why they're calling it a 0.5 version and not a full version. Let's take a look at ice cream, or take a look at internet. I was thinking ice cream sandwich because I was thinking of 4.0, but we'll take a look at phonedog.com. We'll load it up and bring it back. Now this is obviously a 4G LTE device, so it's it does incredibly well in network speeds. And you can see here, PhoneDog is loading up, and it loads up relatively quickly. Now, granted, there is a 4G LTE repeater that I'm staring at right now on the building right beside my office, but still, pinch to zoom, you'll see relatively responsive. I do see a little bit of a stutter from time to time in the browser. Like I said, the browser and the menu are the two places I see it, and you can kind of see it lag just a little bit then. But pinch to zoom, relatively responsive. What I do like, though, and I talk about this in Sense quite a bit, is let's say I'm really focused in on the Rezound first impressions here that I wrote a couple days ago. Well, I go to a second window, I'm like, I need to check something else. I can open it up, or open up a second window rather, and bring it up, and let's say I want to go back to PhoneDog, where I can scroll right back over and do that, and then I can open up another window, for example. And so it's quick and easy, and gives you, the ability relatively easily to go back and forth between menus and between windows. Now, what I do like is when we go back, we'll take a look at PhoneDog again, just so I can show you. Leaves you right where you left, or picks up right where you left off, and what it does have is back and stop. So it has some, again, text icons there, or text as opposed to just icons, which is a nice touch. So that's pretty cool. Let's take a look at messages as well. And there's the device phone number. So we'll text ourselves, for example, and take a look. And we'll say the Quick Brown Fox. Fox is hungry for a hot dog and fries. Quick Brown, terrible spelling here. Quick Brown Fox is hungry for a hot dog and fries. So, again, some spelling errors there, but pretty easy to correct it. Notice that one was wrong, and it capitalizes Brown Fox. But anyway, transition effects, relatively quick. Now, what you don't get over here are the easy transition effects like you see in TouchWiz 4.0 and in Motorola's UI, not TouchWiz 4.0. But you know, so that kind of fools the eye a little bit, even though it's a relatively quick transition. Because it's so blocky, you're thinking this is kind of ugly, as opposed to a transition like Windows Phone 7 or Motorola's custom UI. But you do get the keyboard, the stock HTC keyboard out of the box, and what you'll notice is there's no option to change over to another keyboard. But let me see if I have it turned on, and I do. What you do have is HTC's what's called trace input. So you kind of have two keyboards in one here, where you have one keyboard, you know, you're hunting and pecking away, so you can say, hey there, and then all of a sudden you can switch and say, how are you doing? So, which I'm apparently not very good at it at all, but that's okay. I'm not going to swipe either, and you can use it in landscape mode as well. Now again, 4.3-inch display here, nice and long. So for somebody that's transitioning over from a physical keyboard, they shouldn't have any problems using this. Maybe a little bit of a challenge in portrait mode, but you can always swing it over into landscape and you get quite a bit of screen real estate for the keyboard. Nice island keys as well.